everyone. A very good morning to each one of you. Good morning, Riddhi. Okay, before we proceed, let me give an intro about myself. So I am your faculty, your trainer, Anshu Budhia, and I'm going to be taking up your tax sessions, and which I'm sure are going to be very engaging. And at the same time, we are going to be working together to ensure that each one of you get stupendous marks when you're appearing for your exams. I've been taking this subject particularly for many years now. So now even, the multiple batches that I've taken for taxes. So be rest assured, you would be able to complete your syllabus within time, as well as will ensure that you're doing a lot of questions in the class. Good morning. The abbreviation is SG, so do let me your full name. Good morning, Plaksha. Okay, and just one more thing before we proceed, people. There's going to be homework. So leaving today's session, tomorrow's tomorrow's session onwards, you're going to be getting homeworks. And those homeworks are supposedly to be done at your end. We will be discussing the questions in the next class. So every class, you'll have a few questions to do in homework. This is just to ensure that whatever portions we have covered in the class, you're able to, apply them in the questions. Okay. Good morning, Smita. Now, you have any doubts, you come to me. I mean, you can ask me any times, any number of times. You can ask me your questions, your queries. Absolutely okay. When I am putting up questions, I want the same response, as in whatever questions I can put to you, I can, give you, you should be able to try them. Whether you get the correct answer or not, that's not important for me right now. What is important is that you should be able to attempt that question. You should be able to know how to solve that question. Okay? So be participative and make sure that you are attending live sessions regularly, only missing out on them only when it's very, very urgent. Otherwise, please don't miss out. They're live, they can be taken from anywhere. But please attend the sessions regularly so that you will have a flow, that is you're going along with the sessions. You're not lagging behind. Okay, people? Before I start with making you understand with the paper pattern, with the exam pattern, with the exam approach and all, do you have any questions in mind? If yes, then please put them in the chat box. Please keep yourself on mute mode, videos off. Communicate with me only through the chat box. Anybody has any questions, any queries, anything that you have to ask, quickly put it in the chat box. Halima, Harshleen, Jitarth, Karthik, Plaksha, Riddhi, Smita, Vani, Vardhan, Yash, all of you. And Prabjot. Okay, then let's discuss. I can read some of the names have done sessions with me earlier as well for other subjects, right? Yeah, Prabjot, Yash, I can relate. Riddhi. Just give me a moment, I'll share the screen. I'm very sure. Yeah. So this is the third subject, Prabjot. Good. Okay, now I'm very sure that you guys are quite aware of this website. Is there anybody who's in the class who's never visited this website? Anyone? Be honest. Who's never visited this website? Okay, so good to know. Good to know that everybody has visited this, because this is your go-to website. Apart from what we do in the class, whenever you need some other study material, whenever you need something extra to study from, this is your go-to website. Always, no other site, no other place, just visit this site. Okay? And I'm explaining you what and how you're going to make use of it. Navigation, I'm guiding in case some of you are not aware of the same. So this from the start, I'll go to student section. Study resources, ACCA qualification, and I'll select the subject taxation. Let me first make you understand with your subject. Okay, let's get accustomed to this subject. So I'll play this video as an introduction to taxes. I'm playing the video in case some of you are not able to hear it or you find any videos lagging. Please put that in the chat box. Okay. Just give me a thumbs up. Everybody is able to hear it. It's perfectly audible. Video is perfectly clear. Thank you, Ani. Okay, Smita.
This exam develops your knowledge and skills relating to the tax system as applicable to individuals, single companies, and groups of companies. ACCA recommends studying with an approved learning partner and using study materials from our approved content providers. However you study, ACCA will support your learning journey with a range of free resources. The Examiner's Approach article is a good place to start. There are also technical and exam technique articles to further refine your knowledge and skills. To practice and perfect your exam technique, the CBE Practice Platform replicates the real exam experience and allows you to practice up-to-date exam standard questions before marking and reviewing your answers using detailed marking guides and model answers. Currently, the UK tax exam is available on the Practice Platform and more versions will be added over.
So what we are following is definitely the UK version. Okay, now I'll be discussing the paper pattern also. So we have full concentration and eyes only on the screen.
The exam has 3 sections. Section A has 15 objective test questions, each worth 2 marks.
Okay, so we will be discussing the paper pattern. Just have a look at it.
Section B has 3 objective test cases with 5 objective test questions worth 2 marks each. That's 10 marks per case. Be sure to read the cases and requirements carefully. Section C is worth 40 marks in total and has 3 scenarios which typically relate to 3 requirements. Remember to present all your workings. Using the resources available from ACCA and your learning partner is the proven route to exam success. So good luck with your studies and
Okay, so now let's understand about your paper pattern first. So exam question paper pattern. You will have your question paper, which is divided into 3 sections. Section A, Section B, and there is Section C. Section A will have 15, multiple task or multiple choice questions. So I will not write here, just a minute. Yeah, so we use the term objective test questions only. So I'll use here the same term. 15 objective test questions. I'll show you the paper, the mock paper also, that how the question paper will look like. So we call it as 15 objective test questions of 2 marks each. Okay, so total of this section would be 40 marks. Okay, so you will have objective test questions. So objective test questions would be like, you will have multiple choice. You can have a true false. You can have a blank box where you have to enter the value. You can have a drop down kind of a choice to be made. So all this is objective test question. But in all, you don't have to show any workings. You just have to select the final answer or type the final value. That's all. You don't have to do any calculations and show it to the examiner. So what I mean to say is, section A, you will not get Excel on your screen. You will have to use your pen, paper, and calculator. So in the class also, when we will do those objective type questions or these multiple scenarios question, we will not be using, I'll not be allowing you to use Excel. Instead, every day for the class, you have to carry the standard calculator. Standard calculator is just the normal calculator that you use, just like this. A standard calculator you would be carrying. Okay? And you'll be doing all your calculations there, and then we will be discussing the answers in the class. I would be using Excel to do the calculations, of course, because I'll have to share those with you. Okay, but when you are doing questions, you're not solving it on Excel. For these section A, B questions, so that you will have a habit of doing them on the calculators. Fine? Okay. Section B, again here, in total, you will be solving 15 objective type questions. But then here, there are 3 scenarios that you're going to be tested on. So you will have typically 3 scenario-based cases. With 5 objective test questions in each case, or for each case. Okay, so you'll have these questions for each case. So total, we can say that total, you'll have 3 scenarios multiplied by 5, which is equal to 15 questions. Okay, so what will be the worth? I'm sorry, this is 30 marks. My bad. Okay, same, total 30 marks here also. Same case, just like same section A. But then what is the difference? In section A, you can have 15 questions or 15 different chapters or 15 different topics, or maybe same topics also repeated, but it can be from anywhere in the syllabus, and all 15 questions may not be related to each other. Okay, so they can be for different topics, different chapters, and different portions of the syllabus. But when I say section B can also be from anywhere in the syllabus. You don't have anything called important in ACCA. You don't have anything called, which are the chapters from which I can expect more questions. You cannot create that expectations here, because each and every portion of the syllabus is as important as all the other portions that you're going to be covering. So section B precisely has 3 scenarios. Okay, definitely one scenario is going to cover 1 or 2 topics. So from that scenario only, you'll have 5 questions. So like this, you'll have 3 scenarios with 5 questions each. Again, in total, 15 questions. Multiplied by 2 marks, so you get 30 marks for section B as well. Now, there is a very important point that you have to remember and that you have to understand for section A and B. There is no part marking. So when I say there is no part marking, it basically means that either you will get 0 or you will get 2. Even if your answer is partially correct, you will not get 1. For example, there is a true false and you've got 2 options, okay, or 2 questions in that, 2 sub questions. One correct, one is true and one is false. For example, you have rightly given the answer for true, but you have wrongly given for false. So ideally, you would say, ma'am, I've done it partially correct, so I will get 1 marks. You will not get 1 marks. Only when your answer is fully correct, you will get 2 on 2. Otherwise, you will get 0. No partial marking. So if there are 4 sub questions and you have done 3 correct and 1 wrong, you'll get 0. Okay, so basically, I mean to say that for every question in section A and B, individually, you will get either 2 or 0. One more point I would like to clarify. In section B, many times questions, there's a question that students ask me, ma'am, there is a scenario. And for scenario, there are 5 questions. Suppose we have done 3 questions correct and 2 questions wrong. Will we get marks for 3 questions? Yes. It is in section B, all 5 questions are individually marked, meaning to say, if your 1 question is correct, even if other 4 are wrong, you'll get 2 marks for that 1 correct question. Okay? So there is no step marking in section A and B. Either you get 0 or you get 2. But you do that for every individual question. So in total, we have covered 60 marks here. Section C, you'll have 3 constructed response questions. Okay, which is, so 2 questions are for 15 marks each. Okay, now we know the area of the syllabus. So out of which 1 question would be covering individuals taxation, and the other question would be covering corporate taxation or corporations tax. Okay, one more point. So there are 2 questions of 15 marks, but we're still left with 1 question because there are total 3 questions asked. Now 1 question worth 10 marks can be from anywhere in the syllabus. Okay, now in total total would be for 40 marks. Okay, so total you will have 40 plus 30 plus 30, 100 marks paper. Time allowed would be 3 hours, and it is completely CB exam. That means computer-based exam. There is no manual writing that you have to do. Of course, you have to do typing, but not writing. Okay, now let me explain you section C. So why we call it constructed response? Because here you will get step marking. So you will get marks based on the steps that you have done correctly. Even if your overall answer may get wrong, but that's okay. You will get marks for the correct steps that you have done. 1 question was covering the individual's taxation, which is roughly around 15 chapters. And the other question would be based on the corporation's taxes. And then the third question can be from anywhere in the syllabus. But that we will be discussing that, there are topics which are generally covered here. But then we will work accordingly. Now, section C will be done compulsory on Excel for your calculations. And if there is any theory writing, that would be done on Word. So in the class also, whenever we are practicing section C, or I'm giving you that as a homework, I would want and would request all of you to do it on Excel. But which Excel? Microsoft Excel that you have? No. We would be doing questions on the CBE platform in the blank workspace that is given to you on the My ACCA portal, so that you will have a habit and you will have a practice of doing the questions in the CBE platform, format, because that format is not similar to the Excel format that we use completely. There are a lot of cells, which are not working, formulas not working. So then it takes time, it kills your time when you're doing it directly in the exam. But if you practice it beforehand, then it becomes much easier for you to complete the paper within time with no, issues or any glitches in between, because you're able to handle that in the exam. So this is how your paper structure or question paper structure looks like. Before we proceed and before I ask you for any questions, let me show you a mock so that you would understand that how the question papers look like, how section A, section B, section C questions look like. Definitely, we're not solving them today. We're just having a walkthrough of the mock paper. So I'm just showing any random mock paper. Okay, I hope everybody's attention is on my screen. Question says, all 15, the topic, section A heading would tell you like this only in the exam, that all 15 questions are compulsory and must be attempted. Now, I would just like to add one point here. You should attempt all the questions. Sometimes you can have confusion. Sometimes you may feel, I'm not able to recollect it, but then that's okay, because ACC does not have any negative marking. So when there is no negative marking, you should attempt every question so that there is always a chance of, getting higher marks when you do full attempt of the exam. Okay, so like this is the first question. Here you have a choice. These buttons, round buttons tell you that you have to select only one option. Suppose I'll select one option. Now you go to second question again. Now you can see these are square boxes. This means this allows you to select multiple options, because your question wants you to give two correct answers. Then again, in the third question, you can see there are no options. You have to do the calculations and type in the value here. Like this, in the fourth question, again, you have a choice to make. Fifth question, same. Sixth, you have a drop down. You have to select from the drop down. Options are given to you. Seventh, same. Eighth, you have to type in the value. Ninth, now please look here. There are 4 subparts of this question, right? Suppose if I say this is not exempt, exempt, not exempt, exempt, randomly I've done it. Now, as per the correct answer, if my last question is wrong, ideally it should be not exempt, but my rest of the 3 are correct, then also you will get 0. You will not get any part marks. Why? Because for these type of questions, for these 2 marks questions, either all your 4 parts should be correct or none of them is correct, then also you're going to be marked accordingly. So even if your 1 part is correct, 2 part is correct, 3 parts are correct, or your 0 parts are correct, you're going to be marked 0 only in all these cases. Only when you get all the 4 parts correct, then only you will get 2 on 2. I hope I'm making myself absolutely clear with this. Now, for the 10th question again, the same choice. 11, multiple. Question is mentioning 2. So you have to select 2. 12th, 13th, again 2 dates. Only when you get both the dates correct, you will get 2 on 2. Like this, 15th questions are done. Now you go to section B. So like we discussed, there are 3 case scenarios. First case scenario is given to you and it is worth the question numbers 16 to 20, 5 questions. So this is the case scenario given to you. On this scenario only, now we have 5 different questions. Each question is marked differently. Each question is marked separately. So if you get 16th question correct, you will get 2. If you get 17th question correct, you will get 2. If you got 18th question wrong, you will just get 0 for 18th question, not for 16th and 17th. Okay? So like this, we have 3 cases here. Now, finally, we come to section C, which has got 3 constructed response questions. Okay? Now, for example, the first question is given to you. You will go through it. And then we will do the question, which is given to you, which is asked here. There are 2 questions asked. So accordingly, you'll answer it. When you answer it, if you've done it, all correct, you'll get 10. Even if you've not done it all correct, you'll get step marking for the partial answers that you've done correctly. That's okay. Like this, you'll have the second question and the third question. You can see this is for 15 marks. First one was for 10 marks. And the last question is also for 15 marks. This is for corporations. Right? This is for the company. Okay, so one is based on company's tax, one is based on individual's tax, and other one is based on the entire syllabus as such. Okay, any questions and queries here? Please tell me quickly in the chat box, guys. Anybody has any kind of a question, don't hesitate. Type it quickly and I will answer it. Any queries? I hope that everybody's attentive in the class. Come on, tell me. Halima, any query? Harshleen, Jitarth, Karthik, Plaksha, Prabjot, Riddhi, Smita, Swayam. Good morning, Swayam. Vani, Vardhan, and Yash. Guys, come on. Great. So now I hope everybody has made a frame in their head that, look, first, we will never ask ma'am what is important in the syllabus because everything is important. And we are going to attend the live sessions regularly. This should be agenda for all of you. You should be doing your homework questions regularly. Then I can tell you with all the confidence and with the experience that I carry for coaching, the multiple number of batches that we have done, you are going to get tremendous marks. You're going to be, able to complete a paper within time with no problems. And generally, when you study along with the sessions, by the time we complete with our syllabus, students are generally already completed with their 70 to 80% of the syllabus. This is what my target is. If not 100%, at least 70 to 80%, you should be able to complete along with the sessions. So last quarter only, we had a world rank, and the score was 92. We generally have these ranks, and of course, any one of you or many of you, for that matter, can definitely target for ranks. So people, please aim for ranks, not to clear the exam. Okay, clearing, just go along with the sessions, and I can guarantee you will clear it in your first attempt. But even I can guarantee that you can get ranks in your first attempt. Just that you have to give efforts at your end also, consistently studying, sincerely studying, asking me questions, queries wherever you have, solving the questions on your own, and doing a lot of practice. Now, there are few areas that I want to tell you from the start that you will have a habit, along with studying in the class, along with doing the questions that I give you, you have to do more Okay, you have to do something more in addition to it. Like you should be visiting the ACCA website for reading some technical articles, for going through examiner's report. Okay, I'll just explain you that. Okay, I want you all to use this quite regularly. This is an examining team guidance. Okay, generally this is more relevant when you have when you've done some portions, you will be able to understand these questions as well. I'll ask you this question. I'll answer this question. Yes, just give me 5 minutes, I'll answer it. It's a typical question asked by students, so definitely I'll take it. No, so you can have a look at this video, but not now. Generally, I'll tell you when would be the correct time that when we would be watching this video together. Okay, but make sure that you're using these additional support quite regularly. Now, there is examiner's report. You know what is examiner's report? Examiner's report is the examiner's observations on the past papers that have taken place. They pick some section A questions, section B, and section C. Then, along with giving the solution, they give you that, these are the areas that students should consider when they're writing the exam, when they're solving the questions. And these were the common mistakes that were done by many of the students, or these were the good responses given by many students. So you can use them when you are doing your question solving also. So I would like you to visit these examiners report, but again, not now. Maybe once we complete 5, 6, 7 chapters, then you can just have a look at these reports. Okay, start looking them. So generally, as an advice, before your exams, you should be visiting at least 4 to 5 examiners reports, and minimum is 2 to 3. Minimum is 2 to 3. Advised is 4 to 5. That gives you confidence, that gives you understanding about what you may be lacking in your answering, that you can be correct, that can be corrected based on the advice of examiners. Okay, then these are some, this is a library of your technical articles, okay, of the for the topics like adjustment of profit and benefits, and there are few other topics, so that you can go through. There are going to be some additional examples, okay, apart from the ones that we do in the class. Many times even I would give you some questions and homework from here, and we would do some questions from here, just as for more practice in the class. So don't worry, we'll be doing that regularly. But even at your end, I would like you to visit these articles regularly once you have completed that topic. So it gives you more insights, more understanding, and a deeper understanding of the concept. So that is advised again, that you should be using these articles as well. Okay, going ahead, a few other areas of resources that are of much importance to you. So once we proceed into our syllabus, I would be wanting you all to go through these CB specimen exams, past exams, and question papers. Generally, I advise your students to start solving these once you have done almost 70 to 80% of the syllabus. You don't have to wait for 100%. Start doing these questions once you have done with 70 to 80% of the syllabus. There are few advantages of it. One of the advantages is that, you can practice more and more questions early on. You don't have to wait for the syllabus to end. And secondly, wherever you're having errors, wherever you have questions, you can ask them in the class. So that way you can build on your confidence. Just a moment. Right? Moving on. Now you'll say, ma'am, how much materials you're going to show us? How are we going to study with these? I'm telling you, you're not going to study with these, you're going to practice with these. And the more questions that you practice, the more variety of questions that you practice, you are never going to face any challenges in the exam. Okay, last portions, and I want you all to follow compulsory, is your ACCA study hub. I don't know if there is somebody who's not aware of it, but ACCA Study Hub is very resourceful. They are directly created by the ACC examiners, ACC examining team. So they are a very, very useful resource. So this is something that I would like you to start on your own once you do the chapters parallelly in the class. If we have completed 1, 2 chapters in the class, you would do the parallelly those questions in your ACC study hub, solve from there. So it gives you more confidence. And generally, I've seen in the exams, based on the experience also of the students, at least 30%, 20 to 30% of the questions, they get clicked from ACC study hub like that also. So it is of such importance that you should not be skipping it. And people, please don't keep everything for the end. That, okay, let's complete our syllabus, then we'll start with our study hub, then we will do examiner's report, then we will read technical articles, and then we'll do so and so. Please don't mount it, because I know all of you are occupied with other subjects, or you may be occupied with your work, with your studies. So then you need to do the studies in an organized pattern, okay, in a continuous pattern, so that it doesn't give burden to you. So please do it in the same way, in a phased manner. Am I clear with this? Any questions now? Ask me, and then I'll answer your query. Yes, but before that, come on quickly, guys. Put up your questions in the class. Feel free to ask me any questions. How to remember provisions? Who said you have to learn them? You will not be learning them. The more that we'll do practicing in the class, and when you understand those concepts, Riddhi, there is no requirement for you to learn. There is only one thing that you will learn in the taxes. Only one thing, students. You will all have to learn just one thing. There are going to be penalty rates and the due dates. Okay, 4 years from this date, 2 years from the end of this date, 30 days from here. So like that criteria is something, that's the only criteria that you have to learn. Rest, everything, we will understand it. This is why I am here. I'll make you understand those concepts, those topics. We'll be doing questions in the class. So you will know how to apply that topic. And I'm sure you will come and tell me, ma'am, we don't have to learn things. Okay? Now, Yash has asked me a very interesting question. He's asked me, ma'am, do we need to go through a Kaplan and BPP both in order to clear the exam and get a rank? No. Just do one book. Okay, I would say just follow one book. Like here we are following BPP. Please follow BPP only. Do it thoroughly. Be absolutely conceptually clear. See, it doesn't matter you do 1,000 questions also if you're not conceptually clear. If you're not doing those questions yourself. Okay, so you have to have accuracy and speed both in the exam. For speed, we will have timer-based questions in the class. For accuracy, I would make you understand the concept, and you have to do homework questions and practice questions on your own. Okay, more and more questions. You have ACCA Study Hub, you have technical articles, you have examiner's report, you have your mock exams, specimen exams. You don't need anything else, Yash. Just do them perfectly. Complete entire exam kit, complete entire workbook, all these resources, and you're absolutely good to go to get a rank. Okay, you don't have to do multiple books to get a rank. I hope I'm clear with this. Certainly. I am very sure you all are definitely going to get ranks. And that's the confidence level that I need. Okay, so just few more topics to, be accustomed with the tax syllabus. And then we will start with the syllabus. Okay, so I'm sure everybody's excited to do practical based questions. There is going to be some theory portion also, but that is not the typical theory. Okay, that's very interesting theory that I would say. Okay, one of the major helps that you will have in your syllabus is your help box. So in your exams, you would be having this tax tables. Okay, you can see the charts here. I'll just show you. These tables would be given to you in the exam. So there are many portions that you don't need to remember. You don't need to remember the slab rates. You don't need to remember various slabs for various topics, various tax rates. Okay, all these all these are going to be made available to you in the exam. This sheet as it is would be made available to you in the exam. So at all the relevant places, I will highlight that look, these portions would be available to you in the exam, so you don't have to learn them. But as you do more and more questions, you become used to of remembering them. Okay, just give me a moment. Sorry. Okay, people. So this is going to be given to you in the exam and you can make use of it fully. Okay, tax syllabus is very vast, but what you need is only sincerity. That's all. Okay, rest all portions I will be covering, and be rest assured, when you have a fear, ma'am, when we would be able to complete with our syllabus, you would be able to complete with your syllabus on time. So generally, I give at least 20 days to the students to prepare for your exams. Okay, so I aim to complete the syllabus. You have your exams in generally the first week of December. So by mid of November, by say 15th of November or so, I aim to complete with your syllabus. Okay. Sometimes days can be plus minus, but averagely we complete it by mid of the November. No, don't worry. I would be giving you a free cap also, Karthik. Don't worry for that. So every time, even if you're moving out by 9:30, that's okay. That's completely okay with me. For the portions, that you've missed, don't worry. In the next class, I generally give a quick recap of what we have covered in the last class. Okay, so that you become that doesn't become very difficult for you to attend the next session. Sure, I'll take care of it. Don't worry. Okay. Uh, Yes, so yes, one of the basic questions, ma'am, what is the passing marks? So your time limit is 3 hours. You have to complete the paper in 3 hours, and the pass marks is 50%. But for my students, no, it is not 50%. For my students, the pass marks is 70%. Generally, averagely, I am very proud to say that averagely, at least 70 to 80% of the students who clear the exam, they score minimum 65%. Minimum. Okay. So average scores go in 70s and 80s. This is how we maintain that. So the only thing the only way that we do it is by doing a lot of question practice in the class. So just as an add-on, I would just like to add, apart from the 3 sessions that you will have in the week, yes, Yash, I know. So I so thanks to you for that highest scores. But I think now even Yash, you can support it that by doing more and more practice. Yes, Swayam. So by doing more and more practice, you can always get very high scores. Okay, just what I was saying, let me just continue it. You'll have 3 weekday morning sessions regularly for your regular sessions. But I always take one session more in a week. That we will just start in another 2 weeks or so. We'll start one session in the evening. The purpose of that one session is doubts. So whatever doubts you have, whatever queries you have, in that session, I'll take it. Because it's more better to solve the queries live in the class as it involves practical solving. Okay. Secondly, we will do questions in the class. So that one weekday evening session is only for question solving. Okay. Only for more and more question solving, doubts resolution, and any queries resolution. No new topic, nothing that is there in the regular session would be covered in that class. I hope I'm clear about it. If you have doubts, you have queries, just come to me. And apart from that, if you have any doubts and queries, I'm always there available on WhatsApp for you all. So I will revert back to the queries. But I generally prefer when we are there, when we are having live sessions, then it's better to resolve the queries live in the class, because then understanding becomes more clearer and it's more crystal clear. Fine. So we'll have that. I will be letting you know the weekday evening, session days. It will be fixed day. So I'll let you know, but definitely it will not be the day when you have morning sessions. Apart from these 3 days, we'll have one other day where you have a evening weekday session. Got it? Everybody? So even if some of you maybe, are able to miss that session, so even if some of you are missing that session for any reasons, it's okay. You can go through that on the recordings. But I would prefer, even if you can attend that session for half an hour, for 1 hour, have your queries resolved. Okay. And so, many times what happens, you may not be having a query, but if other student has a query, it gives you more clarity on the same. So that is why I prefer live doubt solving sessions and question solving sessions. So where we are going to do a lot of questions practice of section A, section B, section C, as a support for you when you're doing your practice for the exams. Okay. Okay, this we have covered. Yeah, you have an option to give center-based exams as well as remote invigilated exams. If you ask me my preference, I always go for center-based for many reasons. First, you don't have any issues where sometimes, remote exams get cancelled or they are stopped in between. Even if there is no internet problem at your site, many times these things happen. And in center-based exam, I believe you're more focused because you're at a different place apart from your house. So if it is feasible for you, please apply for center-based only. Only when it is not feasible at all, then only you go for remote-based exams. Okay, the knowledge that you gain for taxes here, it's going to help you a lot in your ATX. And ATX is one of the most in-demand subjects, in-demand areas for practice, okay, for your employment opportunities also. So if you have your base very clear with taxes, ATX becomes a cakewalk. Much easier because I teach ATX. So I'm telling you that the students who have the clarity of tax base, they are very good in their ATX papers. Right. So this last quarter, we had ATX world rank also. So, those students talked about it. Okay, now these are some screens and I wanted to go through today. Okay, after the class, whenever you have time, in the evening, in the night, whenever you have time, just go through these screens. Okay, just go through these pages in your book. This would help you in getting an idea about, how to approach the OT questions, how to approach scenario-based questions. So this is going to give you a lot of insight. Few tips from my end that you're going to, ensure that you are using these tips right from the first question that you are doing in the class. Number one, answer all the questions that I told. The reason being, ACCA is not having any negative marking. So why to waste that question? There is suppose you're confused in the exam, it's okay. Questions are always going to be there where you will be confused, where you may not be getting the correct answer. Give your best judgment and select the answer. If you're not able to get the correct answer, even after 1 or 2 tries, that's okay. But don't leave the question unanswered. Okay, because when you don't have negative marking, then why to leave the question unanswered? We will always start, you should always start your exam with the question that you know first. I always say, please start with section A, never start with section C. Section A saves your time. If you're not able to do the first question correctly, that's okay. Don't trouble yourself. Leave it. Go to the next question. So the question that gives you more comfort, more confidence, start with that. That is going to help you in elevating your confidence level throughout the exam paper. Third, read the requirement of the question first. I always say that every time to all the students for all the papers. 50% of your question is already solved if you read the question carefully. Because your 50% of your answer is within the question only. 50% of your answer. So you read the requirement very carefully and you would know how to solve the question. You would know what is the requirement of the examiner. Okay, and then you can solve it instantly. So 50% of your answer is already solved when you read the requirements of the question carefully. Reading doesn't mean you have to spend 5 hours or 5 minutes on it. You will have 2 minutes for every 2 marks question. Reading means reading everything carefully, hurriedly, but carefully. Okay? Then apply your technical knowledge to the data presented in the question that you will learn, you will understand with the classes that we are going to be having. There are going to be tips that we will be discussing when you will be using Excel, that is for section C questions. I would be guiding you that there are few tips that you should be keeping in mind when you're answering them in the exam. Okay. Any questions, queries anybody has, put it in the chat box. Then we will begin with our subject, with our first chapter. Okay, then I think let's begin. Everybody good to go? Great. Very good, Karthik. Okay. Great, Swayam. Just allow me 30 seconds. And in fact, for your 2.5 hour session, I'll give you 10 minutes break. So I think let's have a break now only. Okay, let's have a break now so that we can have a continuity for this chapter. So it's 8:28 and we're very particular about the timings. So let's resume at 8:38. Okay, or 8:39. But be there. I'll just be there. Okay, please don't leave the session because then rejoining becomes a bit of a challenge. So please be there in the session only. I'm giving you this break as a refreshing, refreshing yourself so that you are fully focused in the class. So let's resume in another 10 minutes. Okay, okay people. So I think we're good to go. Can we begin? Everybody's refreshed to start. Just give me a quick report. Good. So do we have only Riddhi, Swayam and Smita attentive in the class? What about others? Okay. Vardhan, I hope you are there in the class. Yash, Plaksha, Harshleen. Good. Come on. I want that energy levels always there. Good. Okay. Now, let me start. People, every time at the class end, okay, I will be sharing notes with you and the questions that we do in the class. They all are going to be shared in Excel format. The reason why I prefer Excel, over and above the PPTs, I find it that where you have a confusion or a question, you can easily solve that here. So that saves your time. Plus, navigating on Excel, I find it's more better than navigating on PPTs. So because you don't have to read it, right? You have to understand it. Many times you may be required to do a question for your understanding. You can directly do it here in Excel. So this is why I share notes, questions, everything which is done on Excel. Fine. And you don't have to write anything in the class because I would be sharing all this with you at the end of the class. Okay, and it will be uploaded on LMS. So definitely that's going to help you when you're reading your topics, revising them, going through the recordings. For that matter, you can find everything there. And on WhatsApp also, I share it so that, you don't have to wait for it to be uploaded in LMS. You can use it directly on that day only. Let's start with the introduction of the UK tax system. As you know, we are following UK taxes. So Indian taxes, we're not going to talk about. We are only going to focus on UK taxes. UK tax system, if I say, is precisely dividing two categories for taxes purposes. One is individuals and one is corporations or companies. These two categories we do under direct taxes. Okay, so let's come to the topic that there are two types of taxes. One is a direct tax, another is indirect tax. Anybody has an idea about what is a direct tax and what is an indirect tax? Don't give me any book language, just a simple language that you are aware of. Does anybody know the difference? Quickly put it in the chat box. Anyone who knows what's a direct tax and what's an indirect tax? Okay, Jitat has given that direct tax is tax deducted at source. Yash says indirect tax is charged to product or the services that we consume. Anybody else with any other answer? Okay, Vardhan has given me an answer that direct tax is the tax that is directly charged on who is responsible to pay, and from end consumer when we collect, it is indirect tax. Direct tax cannot be transferred. Okay. Direct tax is on income that you earn. Smita has said. Anybody else? So quite a good, mixed answers that we have got. Let me explain you with an example what is a direct tax. Suppose, for example, I am an employee. I have earned employment income. Okay. So on my employment income, I am going to pay taxes on my income. Who is paying tax? I, as an employee. Okay. Who is paying the taxes to the government? I only. So when I say I only am paying the taxes, doesn't mean that I am transferring it directly through my bank account. It basically means that even when the employer deducts TDS, okay, we know in India tax deducted at source, but in UK we call it as pay as you earn, pay as you earn. So employer will calculate taxes on my income, okay, and will deduct taxes on it. But employer is not paying from his own pocket, boss. He is not paying. He is saying you earned 100 rupees or 100 pounds as your income. I'll deduct 12 as your taxes. 88 is finally that you are getting. So it's the taxes that are deducted out of my income only, correct? So it's income on my tax. This is the tax on my income and also deducted from my income only. So it's me only who is paying it finally, correct? This is why it is known as direct tax. Direct tax is the tax which is directly charged on the income of the individual and which is paid out by that individual himself only. That is paid out of his income only. Now let's take another example. You go to the market, you do shopping. So when you do shopping, the shopkeeper gives you a bill and that is having the product value, and on that, in India we charge GST, but in UK we have VAT. Okay. So on that product value, the shopkeeper will charge VAT and he will say, ma'am, 100 is the product value, 20 is the VAT, Net 120 is something that you have to pay me. So you being the customer, you pay 120 to the shopkeeper, correct? Who has paid the taxes? You as the buyer. Who has collected the taxes? Shopkeeper as the seller. And who is depositing it with the government? Shopkeeper. So buyer is bearing the taxes, shopkeeper is collecting the taxes and depositing it to the government. The two parties involved, indirect tax. So indirect tax is the tax which is not directly charged on your income, which is charged on a transaction. And there are two parties involved for paying the taxes and for collecting the taxes. I hope we are absolutely crystal clear with this difference. So let me summarize it. And if you have the slightest of error, queries, doubts, put it in the chat box. Right? So now I do hope that Jitarth, you're clear with the understanding of the terms. Now you will not say that direct tax is a TDS. Correct? Okay, so direct tax is a tax charged on income, chargeable gains. Just a moment. Yeah. Okay, so direct tax is a tax which is charged on income, chargeable gains, and wealth. These are some terminologies you'll not be able to understand, but we'll do understand it in the due course. Like taxes charged on income would be income tax, would be NIC, okay, would be the corporation's taxes. Taxes charged on chargeable gains is chargeable gain tax. Tax charged on wealth is inheritance tax. I would be covering it all. Don't worry for that. Okay, so taxes are collected directly from the taxpayer. For example, income tax, NIC, IHT, that is inheritance tax, chargeable gains tax, corporations tax. All this will be covered here. Indirect tax is a tax which is charged on goods and services. Tax is paid by the buyer and is collected and deposited to HMRC by the seller. What is HMRC? We'll just come next to it. Okay, by the seller or the service provider. So for example, VAT. Okay. Now, let's proceed. So when I see that the UK tax system has precisely two categories, individuals taxes, taxes on the companies or the corporations, and then both of them, they pay VAT, which is indirect tax. Individuals would cover sole traders, employees, partners in the partnership firm. All these are covered under a term named individuals. So what kind of tax liabilities are due? Income tax liabilities, national insurance contributions. Okay, these are based on the incomes and the trading profits of the individuals. We'll cover it. Okay. Then that is basically charged on the income of employees. It is also paid by employers and the self-employed people. Then we have CGT liabilities and inheritance tax liabilities. Companies, they always pay corporations taxes. And both of them, they pay VAT or they contribute to VAT. Now I'll take up the next topic, which is HMRC. What is HMRC? You know that UK has always, had always the monarchy system, right? Wherein there was a king, queen, that concept was there. And even now it is there. You have that monarchy system still parallelly existing along with the government, the democratic government over there, right? But so due to that nature, you'll have the terms referring to majesty, referring to queen, referring to king in their laws because they have been created like many years ago. So HMRC full form is Her Majesty Revenue and Customs. So that is a department name simply for the income tax department. In India, we call it as IT department. In UK, we call it as HMRC, Her Majesty Revenue and Customs Department. Clear? So HMRC everywhere will refer in the taxes, everywhere. So instead of IT department, I'll write HMRC over there. Got it? So the governing body for income taxes, for VAT, for all these is HMRC. I hope I'm clear about it. I'll cover it a bit more in your syllabus. Not much, but a bit more. We will not be reading it through the book. We will be understanding the topics first in Excel, and then we'll go to the book. Okay, so now there's it's a very basic question, that why do you need the government to charge taxes? Ideally, government needs taxes for the public welfare, for the different, schemes that they launch in general for the public, for health facilities, transport facilities, and so on. So this is the reason why we should be encouraged, the individuals, the citizens, corporations, everybody should be encouraged to pay taxes. Okay. Then so there are different social factors, economic factors, environmental factors that help us to encourage payment of taxes. Like, for example, to save environment, we have a climate levy taxes. Okay, we have a landfill tax, so that we're able to save the soil, like this. Now, the structure of UK tax systems, as I had told you, I'd explained you that Her Majesty Revenue and Customs is a part of Her Majesty Treasury Department, that is, the Revenue Department, and the sub part of it is Income Tax Department. So it is the main administrative function, is to collect taxes. And the officers of HMRC, we call them as Officers of Revenue and Customs. Okay, so referring to HMRC, it is Officers of Revenue and Customs. Then referring to the prosecution services, that takes care of the the legal portions for the IT department. We have the Crown Prosecution Service that takes care of the providing legal advice and conducting the criminal prosecutions in England and Wales. So you know that we don't always refer to as UK. England and Wales covers other countries also. But for your syllabus, for the ease of doing the questions, we'll have everything within UK only. Okay, we are not covering overseas taxes here. That's covered in ATX. So we're just covering UK. UK means UK basically covers all the cities and everything that is coming within the United Kingdom. So you don't have to really differentiate between England, Wales, Queensland, and all. You just have to take care of UK terminology in the exam. All your questions will be based assuming that you are in UK. So considering that only, it will be based. Okay, now suppose there is HMRC who's passed an order. The Officers of Revenue and Custom, they passed an order, and you being the assessee, you are not agreeing with that order. Now what you should do? You have a right to appeal. So we can make appeals against the decisions of HMRC. Appeal can be done at 2 levels, at the 2 tribunals, that is, upper tribunal, lower tribunal. The tribunals are like the courts. Okay, so they are only for the tax purposes. Those courts are there. Those are known as tax tribunals. When you make an appeal to lower tribunal, that's basically when the quantum of the taxes is lower, or you're appealing against the HMRC and then you are going to the tribunals. Okay, so that's really not involving very high quantum of taxes. When the quantum of tax is very high, the nature is very complex, and it's a very, very, very material transaction. That is a very important transaction, which is involving large sum of taxes or maybe a very complex scenario. So then we can directly go to upper tribunal also. Otherwise, the lower case tribunals, if you have lost, you can appeal in the upper tribunal. Then you go to High Court and then you go to Supreme Court. That's the chain. Now, suppose an Officer of Revenue and Custom has passed an order. Now, this has been asked in the exam also. What should be the next course of action? Should we directly go to tribunals? No. We will appeal for a review of that order. That means if Mr. A, who is an Officer of Revenue and Custom, has passed an order, now we will file an appeal that Mr. B of the same department can review the order. And if he finds that, yes, there are some mistakes in the order, he can do the corrections. The matter can be solved there only, instead of going to the tribunals. Got it? So the first course of action after you have, you want to go against the order of the officer of revenue and custom, then we will first go for the review of the order. If it is not accepting only, then we'll go for lower tribunals generally. I'll just cover that. So before an appeal is heard by the tax tribunal, there is an option for the taxpayer. It's an optional, okay, not compulsory. So it's an option for the taxpayer to request an internal review of a decision by an HMRC review officer only. Okay, so another officer will review it. If you're satisfied, you don't need to go to tax tribunals, it will stop there. Otherwise, you may go to lower tribunal, then upper, then higher court, then Supreme Court. Okay. Now I'll take up the next category of taxes, revenue and capital tax. It's very simply speaking, the taxes which are applicable on the income of the individual. Income can be your employment income, income can be your rental income, like property income that we call it, your trading income, that is income from the business. So if any income that you are earning, you pay taxes on it, we call it as revenue tax. But any tax that you are paying, not on the income, but on the asset or the wealth, then we call it as a capital tax. Like for example, if I'm selling off my flat, I am paying taxes. Now, this is not the tax that I'm paying on the income because this is not my regular income. It is the income that has generated because I've sold a capital asset. So we call it as a capital tax. At the same time, for example, my uncle has given me a property in inheritance and I have to pay taxes on it. So then I would be paying capital tax because what I've got is an asset. So because of which whatever income I'm able to generate is due to that asset. So we call it as a capital tax. So the next concept that I asked you or that we were discussing was revenue tax and capital tax. Revenue tax is a tax charged on income. Capital tax is a tax which is charged on wealth and capital gains. So let's just have an understanding here. Income tax is a direct tax, now you know, and it's a revenue tax. It is suffered by individuals and partners. Why? Why I'm not saying companies? Because they pay corporations tax. Okay, they don't pay income tax. National insurance, again, it's a direct tax. It's a revenue tax which is borne by employees, employers, and self-employed people. Corporation tax is a direct tax. It is both because you will, when we study, we'll find that corporation tax is a tax which is charged on capital gains as well as normal income. So it is having the features of both. Okay, and it is paid. It's suffered by UK companies. Again, overseas companies we're not considering here. CGT, capital gain tax, it's a direct tax, but it is a capital tax because it is a tax charged on the transfer of capital assets. So it is suffered by individuals and partners. Inheritance tax, again, it's a direct tax, but it is a capital tax, which is suffered by only individuals. For corporations, inheritance tax is not applicable. Okay, VAT, it is an indirect tax. It is not a revenue or a capital tax because that categorization we only do for direct taxes. Please remember it. And it is suffered by the end user or end consumer. Okay. Now, let's understand a very important area of a syllabus. This is the base. What is a tax year? Anybody knows what's a tax year? What is a tax year for UK? Anybody is aware of it? Anybody knows what's a tax year of India? Let me see. What is a tax year of India? Come on, people, you're studying taxes. This is the basic thing that you have to be aware of. Okay. When does a tax year run from? From which state to which state? Very good, Smita. Very good, Vardhan. Very good. Perfect. Okay, so that's very good. Vardhan has given me perfectly, ma'am. In India, the financial year and the tax year is same. And it runs from 1st April to 31st March. Perfect, very good. And given to me correctly for the UK tax year also by Smita and Vardhan. Very good. So you find it a bit difficult to understand, no? Because it's a very different tax year in UK. We have it from 6th April, okay, from the first year to 5th April of the second year. Let's take an example. So suppose if I say that we are doing it, suppose if I say that I have a tax year 2024-25, you know when it is going to start? It is going to start from 6th April 24 and it is going to end on 5th April 25. Okay, so we have few terminologies. Okay, we know the term financial year. For example, financial year runs from 1st April to 31st March. Calendar year, it runs from 1st January to 31st December. There can be any other year also that you can choose, like 1st July to 30th June, 1st August to 31st July. That's up to you. You can use any of the years. That's completely okay. Okay, but tax year has to be very particular. Leave aside what happens in India. In UK, it is running from 6th April to 5th April. So you will ask, ma'am, that means whenever we are doing calculations, we have to do it pro rata for 24 days of April on in the first days. No. For the ease of calculations, we consider it as from 1st April to 31st March for ease of calculations. That means I will always write my tax year as 6th April to 5th April 25. But I will take income from 1st April to 31st March only. For your exam purposes, we always do it this way. Okay? For ease of calculations. Because in your syllabus, we will never do pro rata calculations for days. We can do it for months, but that I'll tell you later on. But we'll never do it for days. Okay? So whenever you have to calculate income, you will calculate for the month of April full, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February, and March. Though you will always write 6th April to 5th April, but full months you will take for April and March. I hope I'm absolutely clear on it. The reason being, you will always assume income accrues evenly throughout the year. So it won't matter in which month it is occurring because it is always evenly that we assume. Okay? And we'll never prorata it for the number of days. Any doubts till this point? Anyone has any doubts and queries? Please quickly put it in the chat box. Okay, now let's have few questions. Though they are very simple, but still I'll have it so that we don't have any doubts. Okay, Riddhi's asked me a question. Riddhi, wipe out your Indian taxes completely. If I don't say anything, there is nothing to be understood. There is no concept of previous year assessment year, any other year in your taxes. Okay, let's forget out what we know in Indian taxes because this is going to be completely different. Fine, nothing you're going to carry from there. Okay, now let's have questions. And the person to whom I'll ask, only that person will revert in the chat box. Just give me a moment. Okay, quickly, Halima, I want you to answer the first question. What would be the period for tax year 23-24? Quickly, only Halima will revert. Put it in the chat box. Absolutely correct. Very good, Halima. She has answered it absolutely correct. 6th April 23-24 to 5th April 24. Okay. Karthik, give me the next answer quickly. Elaborate tax year 24-25. Wrong. Karthik, check again. What mistake you have done? Okay, Prabjot, can you give me that answer? Only Prabjot. Mark it to everyone. All of you are going to mark your messages to everyone. Only when I'll say direct message, only then I need direct message. Good, Karthik. You've done it correctly. No, you've done the correction. Okay. Prabjot, no answer at your end. It will not take so much of time. This shows I want full attentiveness by everybody in the class. So now it is correct. The period is from 6th April 24 to 5th April 25. I would need your rewards, Prabjot, for the next one. Okay, now you have got it correct. Good. But then I need you to increase your speed. Okay? Okay, the next answer, Plaksha. Quickly give me the tax year. I can call out anybody's names. I want it to be 100% attentive. I want you all to be 100% attentive in the class. Will it take so much of time, Plaksha? Only tax year I need. Okay. Can I have answer by Vani? Vani, can you answer? Very good. So where are you, Plaksha, in the class? Okay, next. Swayam, can you answer it? The next one. Quickly. What is a tax year? Very good. See the level of attentiveness. Amazing. Very good. 26, 27. Next one. It's a very interesting one. So, Aman. No, Aman, you've just joined. But that's okay. Swati. No, sorry. Smita. Smita, can you answer it? The last one. Which is a tax year? Okay. There is a mistake in Smita's answer. Can anybody tell me what is a mistake? Anyone in the class, can you highlight? Nobody can highlight the error? Boss, I did not write the tax year only correctly. So ideally you should not write 21, 22. Perfect. That is a financial year that I've written, not the tax year. So it is not the correct tax year. Okay, no, financial year is 21, 22, but tax year is not 21, 22 here. In order to make it correct 21, 22 tax year, I need to write 6th April to 5th April. Are you clear, Smita? This differentiation you should be able to make. I know you were correct, but the dates correction has to be there. Okay? Very good. So I hope now everybody is absolutely clear with the tax years. Anywhere, any confusion, type it in the chat box quickly. Absolutely clear. Now we go to the last topic of this chapter. Okay. I hope now everybody is having the comfort zone that you are able to understand whatever I'm trying to explain to you. Okay. The next topic that we are doing is tax planning, tax avoidance, and tax evasion. Very technical terms, but very easy to understand. My question to all of you, open question. And please don't give me any book languages. I don't want it. I just want simple language that would make me understand that yes, you know the concept. Anybody knows what's the difference between tax planning and tax evasion? Can anybody tell me? What is the difference between tax planning and tax evasion? I'm stopping the share for a moment because I would be playing a video. Please type your answers in the chat box. So we've got rewards. Okay, quite few rewards. Very good. Aman is giving me that tax planning is a legal thing. Karthik, planning is to minimize tax payable. Evasion is to avoid tax, by which we can save tax. Tax evasion is illegal. So it is illegal as it is showing lower profits for lower taxes. Not necessarily always lower profit, but yes, overall aim is to avoid taxes. Tax planning is method which we use to minimize tax, following the tax laws and framework of tax laws. Very good, Vani. Very well explained. And it is adopting the legal ways to help to reduce tax liabilities by using allowances available. And tax evasion is illegal by showing false information to pay wrong tax. Very good. Wonderful, Ardhan. Aman has also given the same thing. So tax avoidance and tax evasion, the same. No, I'll come to tax avoidance. But first, I'm doing tax planning and tax evasion. Tax planning and tax evasion, as you have correctly explained, all of you, is perfect. It's correct. So tax planning is basically taking the legal ways to minimize the taxes or to lower the taxes. But we are just using whatever is given in the law. Suppose a law says that when you are having employment income and if you are paying your ACCA professional membership fees, you're allowed to take it as a deduction. So I'm not doing something illegal, right? I'm paying fees and I'm reducing it from my income so that gives me lower income. I'm paying lower taxes on it. Tax avoidance is something that suppose I have trading income. Now I have a fear that I may end up paying more taxes. So what I do is there are two sales invoices. I don't show it in my income records only. So because I have not shown my two sales records, my profits are lower and due to which I'm paying lower taxes. But was it the correct way? No, it is an illegal way. It is an illegal way to save taxes and to minimize taxes, which is not correct. So this is what tax planning and avoidance is. Tax planning and evasion is about. Not avoidance, tax planning and evasion is about. So when you evade taxes, evade means you are trying to take illegal means or wrong means to pay less tax. Either you hide information, you give false information, you give incorrect information. Okay, like this, you're adopting the measures. And when we say tax planning, so tax planning is you're planning your taxes using all the legal routes or the allowances, the benefits which are given by the tax authorities, which you can use and which is allowed to be used. Then there is a third term, tax avoidance. Many of you have mixed tax evasion and avoidance, which is wrong. Evasion and avoidance is completely different. In fact, avoidance and planning, they go hand in hand. But I'll come to avoidance in a while. But I hope broadly now you know the difference between planning and evasion. I'm playing a small video. And why? Because this is a very, very important topic from your exam point of view. This topic is a very frequent topic for your, section A questions, section C theory questions. Okay, so this is a very kind of a very regular topic for your exam. So even for those 2 to 4 marks that can come from this topic, let's not lose those marks. Okay, I'm just playing a small video to make you understand that. Just allow me a moment. I'm sharing the screen.
Life enjoy करते हुए business build नहीं होता.
Every single time you buy something is to help you. goes towards building our infrastructure, supporting our 401ks. Instead, clothing and other items can put a big dent in your and so
such increase as income or wealth increases, or through other mechanisms that promote complex tax system, a legal authority, and geographic scope.
I'll share that video. It's not opening. I don't know why. I'll share it. The technical articles. Yeah, I'll share it in sometime in the group only. Okay, anyways, so now we're very clear about the term tax planning and tax evasion. Comes the third point, that what is tax avoidance. So tax avoidance is just like tax planning, where you're taking legal ways to minimize your taxes. But the difference between tax planning and tax avoidance is, in tax planning, you are using the schemes, you're using the, allowances which are directly given to you by the authorities. Like, for example, the authorities tell me that if you are buying the capital assets, you're going to get capital allowances. Okay, for example, if you are having the employment income and you're contributing to pension schemes, you're going to claim it as a deduction. So these are all directly given to me by the authorities. But then when I'm doing tax avoidance, I would like to plan my taxes in a way which is, I'm targeting the loopholes in the tax system. Like, for example, I don't want to I don't want to do an incorporation of my business. That is, I don't want to make a company. I don't want to make a corporation. Instead, I may just go to the individual taxes way if I think that my incomes are generally going to be in a lower slab rates. Or contrary to it, instead of going the unincorporated way, that is going for the sole proprietorship or the individual's way, I would like to go for companies way, that is corporations, because I assume my taxes overall will be lower than what I will do, what I will be paying if I'm paying as an individual. So what I'm trying to do here is taking care of the loopholes in the tax system, because there are differences in the tax rates. I want to take advantage of the same and then use it for my own sake so that overall my tax liability gets reduced. I'm not using any scheme directly here, but I'm using a planning tool to reduce my overall tax burden. This is known as tax avoidance, where you're avoiding the taxes by doing planning of the income and the taxes in a way that you are actually looking into the loopholes in the tax system, and you're trying to make the best use of those loopholes, and you're not going the illegal way. It is all legally allowed. Am I clear now that what is the difference between tax planning, tax evasion, and tax avoidance? Quickly put that in the chat box. Yes or no? Anybody who's still having the doubts and the clarity issues, please put that in the chat box. But it has to be 100% absolutely crystal clear. Everybody? Good. Very good. So if I just summarize it over here, tax planning is a reduction in an individual's or the company's tax liabilities in accordance with the tax legislation, such as claiming capital allowances on machinery. Tax avoidance is legal minimization of tax liabilities, just like tax planning above. Tax evasion is consisting of seeking to mislead HMRC by either suppressing the information or providing deliberately false information. It is illegal. Okay, so now just the two portions of this chapter which is remaining, and then we're done with this chapter. The second portion that I'm taking is the general anti-abuse rules. Typically, what you have to understand here is, we call them GAR. And these are just the rules which are created by HMRC, so that if there is any tax advantages that are being taken by the people, the individuals, the corporations, or any other taxpayer, but which is not the legal way, which is like the illegal way, or they're entering into tax arrangements which is not correct, which is not legally correct. Okay, we call them abusive tax arrangements. Then how to counter that? To counter that, we have these rules that we call as gentle anti-abuse rules. So it gives powers to HMRC. Okay, so that if there is any abusive tax arrangements that have taken place, the HMRC can always counter those arrangements, because the purpose of those tax arrangements is only to take tax advantage. Suppose there's a company A which has created another company. The only purpose is that so that these two companies make a group and assets can be transferred at no gain, no loss. Or we can have losses shared. When we do group rules, you'll find that. The purpose is that tax can be saved, tax can be evaded. So this is just like an extension of tax evasion, which is entering into abusive tax arrangements so that the tax liability gets reduced. The aim is not to do the business in the ethical way, but the aim is to reduce tax liabilities by any method that can be adopted. Okay, for example, significantly, we are showing less income, profits, or gains to be taxable. So we are entering into transactions with party A where the market price is 100 and we are charging only 10 on the selling price, so that the overall profits get reduced. So these are abusive tax arrangements, so that ultimately it gives you reduction in tax liabilities, or it gives you refund, that is repayment of taxes, or you can defer the taxes. That is, instead of showing the sale transactions in tax year 24-25, we are showing it in 25-26. So we're deferring it to the next year, but which is wrong, because if a sale has been done in 24-25, it should be booked in 24-25 only. So when you enter into these arrangements, we call them abusive tax arrangements. And of course, HMRC needs powers, needs guidelines, so that they can counter these kind of arrangements. So these guidelines, or the rules adopted, they are known as general anti-abuse rules. Clear? Got it. Okay, any doubts? Let me just take up the next portion, and very, very crucial portion of this chapter. Okay, that is reporting suspicions. Now, what has happened? Let me give an interesting case. Now, you are an accountant for a client. Now, when you are preparing the financial statements of the client, you come to know that the client has not shown for sales invoices in his statements. Because he has not shown for sales invoices in his statements, of course, that is not being caught in the calculation of trading profits. What should be your duty as an accountant? Should you finalize that financial statements and the tax calculations and approve the tax payments to HMRC? Should you do that? Ideally, what should be your approach? If you find that your client is doing these kind of activities where he has deliberately hidden those 4 invoices and he's not shown them in his calculations of profits, what you should do as an accountant? Tell me. Okay, Plaksha has given that ma'am will ask client to correct the statement. So very good. We will not report that act to HMRC. No, not at all. I mean, all of you write answers direct to everyone. Okay, mark it to everyone. Okay, so Smita has said we should ask the client. Okay, so perfectly given by Plaksha. That first step, what you would do is you would ask the client that, boss, please correct these statements. Okay, this is the first step that you will do. Perfect. But now the client is saying, boss, I will not correct it. Now what you should do? Vardhan has given a very detailed outlook that firstly we'll discuss with the client the reason for so and try to insist that correct it, and if it does not do so, then deny to do the work. If error is so significant, involves breach of law, then report it to the relevant authority. I summarized all the points here, but there are few missing points that I'll correct. So first point, you can try to convince the client that please do the corrections. Okay, give him all the reasoning and convince him. If he's not convinced and if he's not ready to do the changes, then what you should do the second step? Tell me. Okay, type in, type in. First step correctly given. Second step, almost correctly given by Vardhan also. Second step, accountant would say, boss, I'll not do your work. I'll cease to act as your accountant because this is ethically wrong and you're bound by ACCA Professional Code of Ethics. So you would not accept any work that is a breach of the ethics. Okay, so when the client is not convinced, he's still not ready to he's still not ready to report full information to HMRC, and you are knowing about it. So it is basically a tax evasion. You would not be a party to tax evasion. You would cease to act for the client. Now, next step, what you should do? After you've ceased to act for the client, what you should do? Because he's still evading the taxes, right? So what should be your next step? Come on, people, type it quickly. Anyone? Jatat has given that we'll report it to HMRC. Okay. Any other viewpoints? What we should do? Report to the seniors of your firm. Okay. I'll just take Jatat's statement and I'll say we'll report to HMRC. What we will report? Not that he has done this mistake. No, you are bound by the principle of confidentiality. You cannot reveal those details to HMRC. Even if you want to, you cannot do that. But we will intimate HMRC that, look, we have stopped to act for this client. I'm no longer an accountant for this client. So we'll cease to act for this client, and this information we will share with HMRC. But in any case, we will never share this information that, look, this client A has done tax evasion. You're bound by the principle of confidentiality. You cannot do that. So we'll not do that. But then it has to be reported to someone, right? We cannot keep it hidden in our heart. So what we will do, now you have two options. Number one, in your firm, in your legal firm or the professional firm that you are an accountant with, report it to the crime investigating officer. Okay, we call it as, money laundering officer. Generally, in your professional firms, we have these officers who take care of any money laundering activities that are going anywhere with any of the clients. So they keep the information secretive and confidential. Okay, you should prepare a report and submit it to the money laundering officer of the firm. If there is no money laundering officer in the firm, then you should prepare a report and submit to the National Crime Agency. But you can, in any case, you can never report it to HMRC. This is a very favorite MCQ question. And in fact, in your section C, section B question also, where students do this mistake. They say, okay, reveal everything to HMRC. No, boss, you're bound by confidentiality. You cannot do that. Okay, so let's just look into what are the steps that you would do when you're aware of these activities going on with the client. They have written these steps. Please follow the same steps in the same sequence only. Okay, let's have a recap of the same. In case of tax evasion by a client, the duty of the practicing accountant who is ACCA is to follow the following steps in the same order. Number one, take steps to persuade the client. And people have written this language because I wanted to use almost exactly, not exactly, but almost the same language in their answer when you're writing section C question. And if this type of question is asked. Okay, because it gives you more a professional way of writing. Got it? So take steps to persuade the client to correct the material error. Material means which is a very big error, whether in terms of that context or value, it is a quite an error that cannot be missed. So take steps to persuade the client to correct the material error or disclose full information of the income in the returns that has been filed to HMRC. If the client does not undertake the advice of professional as suggested in step 1, then the ACCA should refrain or should cease to act for the client and should stop working for him. The professional should inform HMRC about the cessation of his duty with the client without disclosing the reason for the same to HMRC. You will not give the reason, only inform HMRC that you're no longer working for the client. A money laundering report should compulsorily be made by the professional and be submitted to the firm's money laundering officer of the accounting firm. Or if the professional is a sole practitioner, then it should be submitted to the crime investigation authority of the country. If he discloses the money laundering report or that he's preparing the money laundering report with the client or any other third party, look, I'm preparing the money laundering report and you're threatening the client or, you're disclosing it to any other third party, then the professional can be charged for a criminal offense, which is known as tipping off, that you already informed the client about an investigation that may be taking place in the future. So it's like you've tipped off the client. Okay, so refrain from doing that. These are the steps that are compulsory to be followed by the professional accountant. Okay, exam point focus under the self-assessment, all taxpayers, whether they're individuals or companies, they are themselves responsible for disclosing their taxable incomes and gains to HMRC. Okay, they are responsible. And when the accountants are filing their returns, so it's not that it's your responsibility as an accountant for the disclosure. You are just filing the returns as an agent. The main responsibility will always lie with the taxpayer. Okay, let's have a quick question for this chapter, and with just one more topic, then we'll be finishing off with this chapter. Today, we'll just do one chapter. Tomorrow onwards, we'll be doing more chapters. Okay, we first become accustomed to this syllabus. Okay, people, let's have a quick question. The following acts have been committed in the course of business for one of your clients. Customer invoice was omitted from accounting records in order to push it into the taxable profits of the following tax year. Second, the client decided to gift an asset to their spouse in order to reduce a capital gain tax liability. Now, let me just give you an understanding. Any transfers between the spouses is allowed exemption. Okay, there is no capital gain tax liability in case when the assets are transferred between the spouses. It is allowed by HMRC. Which of these actions will amount to tax evasion? Pretty easy question. Action 1, 2, none of them or both of them. Quickly. All of you can mark it for everyone. Please mark it quickly. Aman, reconsider your answer. There is a mistake. Just check again. Okay, so let's discuss who all are correct. Prabjot, correct. Halima, no, Aman, wrong. Halima, correct. Smita, Karthik, Harshleen, Vani, Swayam, Jatar, Vardhan, correct. There are students who have not reverted. Let me just check. Harshleen, have you reverted? Yeah, you have reverted. Yes. Yes. So, Aman, why the answer is neither and both? This is wrong. Why? Answer is action one only. Why? Let's go through it. Why it is a tax evasion? Let's understand it. A customer invoice was omitted from accounting records in order to push it into the taxable profits in the next year. This means what? Deliberately, there's a sale that took place in tax year 24-25. I did not show that invoice in this tax year. Instead, I will show it in the tax year 25-26. Is it tax evasion or not? Clear? Very good. Okay, just give me 10 minutes, people, then we'll leave. Just 5 minutes, 10 minutes, not beyond that. So just be there in the session. Okay, now, though I said that we will not do any overseas taxes here. So if there is any transaction that is taking place between UK and other countries, generally we have a double tax agreement that clearly states that which income would be taxed or which transaction would be taxed in UK and which would be taxed in other countries. So that on the same income, the taxpayer is not paying taxes twice. However, in case if he pays taxes twice, then we have, we have a way wherein we takes the double tax benefits, okay, and we reduce the double tax that has been paid. So basically, essentially, we never end up paying double taxes, okay, and double taxation agreements are generally, they include all the rules and regulations, and that has to be studied in detail in order to know the transactions that take place between two countries. Okay, so this, so theoretically you should understand it. That's all, theoretically. So if there's any MCQ question, you're ready for the same. Okay, let's quickly try out 2 questions from the exam kit before we call it off for day today. No homework questions for today. Okay, quickly I want that answer. First question. Which of the 2 statements are true about inheritance tax? Inheritance tax is an indirect tax, is a progressive tax, is an environmental tax, or is a redistributive tax? Think and tell me. A, B, C, D. Come on, quickly, give me the 2 options. A, B, C, D. You can cancel out the options that you think are wrong. Balance 2 are correct. Absolutely correct. Very good. Smitha, Plaksha, Jatarth, Vardhan, very good. Halima, Vani, Swayam, Prabjot, Harshlin. Come on, guys, it's 100% correct. Aman, very good. Okay, it is a progressive tax and it is a redistributive tax. Perfect, very good. Okay, why? Because inheritance tax is a progressive tax, as the amount of tax payable is a proportion of the transfer. So the more that you transfer, the more taxes you have to pay. You don't have to pay taxes on the entire portion. And it is a redistributive tax because, as the term suggests, it is redistributing the wealth to other parties. Then again taxes, then again it is getting redistributed. If you have any queries, ask me. Okay, next. This you'll not be able to do. Okay, you can do this. Fair company wishes to appeal against the assessment of 100 million, 10 million of corporation tax by HMRC. By whom is fair company's appeal most likely to be heard? Just look at the quantum and then tell me. By first tier, by upper tier, by Supreme Court, by Court of Appeal. The amount is 10 million. You have to just choose one option, A, B, C, D. First tier is the lower tier. No. Halima correct. Vardhan correct. Boss, did you see the quantum? 10 million. 10 million. Pretty big amount. So big amounts, as we discussed, they will not go through lower tier and the chain. The complex cases and the cases that involve pretty big amount of taxes, material taxes, they would directly be heard at upper tribunal. So the answer is B and not A. Am I clear? All of you, those who gave me wrong answers, are you clear now? The reasoning, is this clear? Prabjot, Plaksha, Swayam, Jatarth, Vani, Aman, Smita, all of you. Good. Now there's just one more question that we can do. Which of the two have a legal force? Now let me just give you an understanding. How does any rule becomes an act? Any rule can become an act only when it is passed in the act by the parliament. Okay, so only there are two ways in any country by which any rule can become an act. Okay, we have studied Income Tax Act. When does it become an Income Tax Act? When it is passed by the parliament, or when it is a decision made by Supreme Court, because that's the apex authority of any country. So only when the decisions are passed by Supreme Court or they are an act of parliament, only then it becomes a legal binding on the entire country. That now Supreme Court has passed its judgment, so that means it is final. Now it is a rule that has to be followed. So which of the two will have a legal force? An act of parliament and a statutory instrument. Statutory means a law. Statute means law. So any law, legal instrument or act of parliament will be a legal force. Okay, because any publications of HMRC, our Revenue and Customs Brief means publication by HMRC. They are just an explanation. Okay, that means if you want some details of the law, if you want to know how to apply that law, you want more, understanding of the same, for that we have brief. An extra statutory concession is basically an additional. Extra statutory concessions are like an additional points given by HMRC. So they don't have to do anything with legal force. Okay, they are all optional discussions. That just one more understanding and explanation. Legal force is when it is passed by Supreme Court, when it is a statutory instrument, that means it is a statute. Statute means law. That means it has a legal binding, or it is an act passed by Parliament. Only in these cases, we have a legal binding to be followed. Is this absolutely crystal clear? So we are done with first chapter. I'll share the notes and everything that we have done. Any questions and queries that you had, people? I hope that the session was 100% clear to everybody in the class. So hopefully, yeah. Aman, Halima, Jatat, Plaksha, Prabjot, Swayam, Smita, Vani, and Vardhan. Okay, so that's all for today. We'll meet tomorrow, sharp at 7:30 a.m. Next class is Friday. Your sessions are on Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. Because Saturday, we have another sessions, the weekend sessions. Okay? Okay, thank you so much, people. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye. Take care. In the meantime, please revise the portions. I'll share the notes right away. Take care. Bye-bye.